All right, so it's looking like we have another state of play on the way. And this is according to Nate the Hate, very reliable insider, leaker, whatever the hell term you want to call it, as of late. Kind of has like a crazy track record over the last couple years. So I think that we can kind of take this one to the bank that a state of play is being planned for the week of Valentine's Day, which I think would mean technically, I think that's the 9th through the 16th or somewhere in that range. And so I'm the Super Bowl is the 9th. It won't be on the 9th. So I'm assuming this will probably take place, the 12th, 13th, something like that, sometime between the 11th and 13th. You wouldn't think they would have it on Valentine's Day. That'd be a little bit bizarre. So anyways, that shit doesn't matter. But yeah, another state of play. And with that means another round of predictions. I don't really predict state of plays on the channel because they're just not that interesting, and you feel that you have to limit your predictions so much because of the moniker, because of that state of play branding. But now it feels a little bit different where they don't have the goods anymore. PlayStation doesn't have enough first party output to have showcases anymore. So like they can't have those big, E3 of Dreams style showcases or like the 2020 and 2021 showcases. They don't have the goods anymore. And so because like they used to pretty much only have their first party games revealed at the big showcases. And now it's after the live service disaster and putting so many studios to work on those games. And then you see stuff like Ghost of Tsushima or Ghost of Yotai pop up at a state of play, which would typically be reserved for a showcase. So it's like, I think we almost have to change the way we look at these state of plays because we might not get showcases anymore because PlayStation just might not be capable of having them anymore. Which is a little bit, that's kind of embarrassing for a console manufacturer to not be able to really put on a showcase, but that's neither here nor there. Let's predict state of play. What could be there? And like I was saying, I think we have to open up the possibilities to what could be there. And so I really want to kind of run down through the first party stuff of like, well, which teams could possibly be ready to show off their games? What could those games be? And all of that. So, let's run through that, and obviously we'll talk about second and third party exclusives and third party multi-platform games. So we'll do the full 9 yards here. That's a lot of explaining for no reason. Let's get into the predictions. All right. So started off obviously with Ghost of Yotai. That would probably be the thing that most people would want to see here. I don't think we will see Ghost of Yotai. If it is going to come out in 2025, I would say if it's going to release before fall 2025, you probably do show it here, but I don't think it'll release before fall 2025. I think this one could slip to 2026. Maybe we see it pop back up at like a June state of play, something like that around the E3 season, and it gets an official release date for like November. I could see it being very, very late 2025 or early to mid 2026. But I also think the timing is interesting here where the state of play is going to be a few days after the Super Bowl. So could that mean that we get a Ghost of Yotai trailer at the Super Bowl and then like a deep dive at the state of play? Could that mean it's actually going to release sooner than we expect? Could that mean it's a summer 2025 release? The marketing windows have shortened up quite a bit. So I would, if I had to predict one or the other, I would say no, we don't see it. And I would say it's either a very late 2025 game or a 2026 game. All right. Haven with Fair Games. This is, if this is going to launch this year, I assume we see it here. And I think it's still the thing where if I had to put money on it, I'd probably bet that it gets canceled. But at the same time, it's like you just had those round of cancellations where Bend and Bluepoint had their games canceled, and then you had obviously with Concord, and then Sony London, and you had a lot of these cancellations and studio closures and all that back to back in recent months. So you would think that if Haven was going to be one of those studios that got canned or got their game canned, or the studio got closed down, you would think it would have been in with those other games getting canceled and those other studios getting shut down. So I'm guessing this is still in the cooker and planned to release in 2025. I don't think that it fair. I don't think Fair Games is going to fare all that well when it does release, but we haven't seen any gameplay of it. So this could be the turning point. This could be the moment where it pops up and you're like, oh damn, those characters are actually much more charming and appealing than I thought, and the gameplay system is actually, it looks interesting, and maybe it's free to play, so there's not that big investment to jump in and check it out. Like, there's a number of things that could turn in Fair Games' favor, but if I had to put money on it, I think this is a Concord 2.0. Housemarque. So Housemarque makes much smaller games than the typical, Sony first-party big AAA blockbusters, your Santa Monica's and your Naughty Dogs and all that. They should be ready to show something if they're gonna stay in that traditional, more action kind of AA indie to AA space with that scope. I don't know if that is where they're going to stay, though. I could see them kind of branching out and trying to do something a little bit bigger now that they have the funding to do so. And I know they're not going to make a Returnal 2, since Returnal 1 didn't sell all that well at all. So I'm really curious to see what that team makes. I've talked about it before on the channel, but I think it'd be super cool to see them make like a Pyre style game. Staying in their wheelhouse of kinetic action, over the top, fast paced, just very fluid, moment to moment gameplay being like the forefront, the center of what the game is, and not leaning too much into the production value, not leaning too much into the cinematic storytelling. I think that would be really cool to see them in the action sports, arcadey sports realm. Something similar to a Pyre. I don't think that's what we're going to see. I would assume it's going to be another like third-person shooter, fast, quick-moving thing. But yeah, Housemarque, I would assume they should be about ready at this point, with Returnal releasing in 2021. So yeah, 2021 for Returnal, working on the next game for at least 3 years or so, releasing in maybe early 2026, announced in 2025, release 2026. I could see it. Sony Santa Monica, no chance in hell. I know they have the two teams, the one team that was working on Ragnarok, and then Cory Barlog was heading up a new IP over there. And a lot of the speculation was that it was going to be a sci-fi thing, that they were going to be working on a sci-fi thing. But then you see Intergalactic, and you're like, oh, well, maybe Santa Monica is working on a medieval game or a different, fantasy game, or so maybe they're working on something that we have no idea about. Well, obviously we have no idea about it, but maybe they're working on like, this is always where my brain's going to go, but what if they have like an open world crime game or something cool like that, that's not, your typical fantasy and sci-fi and the things that we get nonstop. But yeah, man, I mean, I don't think we see anything from Santa Monica here. I would love to be proven wrong, and they have been cooking for a while. They have been cooking for a long ass time, but it's still the weird thing where it's like, I understand you revealed Ghost of Yotai at a State of Play, but it's like, shit, dude, I don't know. Reveal that next Santa Monica game at the Game Awards or Summer Game Fest. Don't put it at a State of Play. It just feels lesser than. And once again, that I think we're in the processing phase of like having to change our mindset on what a State of Play is and how we look at it, because showcases just might not exist anymore. So you might have to quit looking at State of Plays as lesser than. But that's, once again, that's kind of up to PlayStation to make us view them as something more than lesser than. Firesprite. So the rumor is they're working on Until Dawn 2, which, that makes sense with the movie, the movie set to drop. Until Dawn 1 is set to drop in 2025. And if that movie finds success, they probably want to be ready to capitalize on it immediately. And this team has pretty much only made VR games at this point. So this will be their first attempt at like capturing a mass market. And Until Dawn 1, the remake didn't do so well. I don't feel like the temperature for the hype for that movie is doing all that well. So that makes me worry that an Until Dawn 2 wouldn't do all that well either. But I love Until Dawn 1. Absolutely love that game. And I would love to see a sequel to that game. But it does kind of make me wonder, damn, maybe that team should have been off working on like a new horror IP, something that's in the Resident Evil realm, something that can kind of compete with Resident Evil, since now, there's no Evil Within on the horizon. There's no Alone in the Dark 2 on the horizon. There's no... we'll probably get more Silent Hill in the future, and maybe Capcom just totally dominates the market and revives Dino Crisis, a remake of that as well, which wouldn't surprise me at all. All right, next up, let's talk about Guerrilla. I think there's no chance we see anything from Guerrilla. Maybe the multiplayer game, the Horizon multiplayer game, kind of the Monster Hunter thing, where you're going to go in and create your own character and go and attack some robo dinos, and I think that could be really fun, really cool, but I would doubt that's even ready. I think that whatever they're going for is going to be incredibly ambitious. They launched Horizon Forbidden West in 2022, and of course Horizon 3, whatever that next Horizon game, the single player thing is called, you're talking about an early PS6 launch window title, or a late PS5, like the final year of the PS5 life cycle before we see that game. So I'm not holding my breath for the next single player Horizon game, but maybe the multiplayer thing, but I doubt it. I don't think we see anything from Guerrilla at all. Marathon from Bungie. This is the one live service game in PlayStation's, first party stable that I'm pretty confident that it will at least get released. I don't think that this game is going to set the world on fire. But, the extraction shooter genre really hasn't had that breakout mainstream hit yet. And if Marathon is going to be that extraction shooter thing, and if that genre can break out into the mainstream, then Bungie's probably the team to do it. Or I don't even know, man. Bungie, it feels like this thing has to come out. Bungie has to make Sony some money back after they spent over $3 billion acquiring Bungie. And that has been a massive, massive money sink up to this point, with everything's kind of pending on Marathon. The hopes and dreams of Bungie recouping a little bit of that investment, that all kind of is riding on Marathon. So, oh boy, I don't know if you're gonna get your $3 billion or $3 billion back on Marathon, but I guess I hope so. Media Molecule. Dreams was recently shut down. And a lot of time, a lot of money went into the development of Dreams, and obviously did not pan out whatsoever. That was, critics seem to really appreciate it. I think that's kind of the thing with Dreams, where that was a game that seemed to be appreciated by all, but enjoyed by very few. Like, it just never caught on. And maybe that's because it wasn't ported to PC, and maybe it should have been opened up a little bit more. And you can go through a number of different cases for why Dreams flopped, or why it could have, or how it could have succeeded. But I think that you're probably going to see Media Molecule back on a Little Big Planet style game. I'm not necessarily saying Little Big Planet, but a good 3D platformer with maybe some multiplayer integration in there, maybe some sort of creation suite in there to a smaller degree, to a much, much lesser extent than Dreams, and probably somewhere in that Little Big Planet range. But yeah, it's probably somewhere about time for for Media Molecule to show their next thing. But I don't know, actually, because Dreams, what was that, 2 years ago, where Dreams got shut down, so they probably aren't ready to show anything yet. So I would, if I had to predict, I'd say nothing from Media Molecule either. Wolverine from Insomniac. Once again, this is one where I could maybe see it at a state of play being re-revealed, because we already have, we had that official world premiere where it's just the cinematic shot of the dude walking into the bar and Logan popping out the claws, and great reveal for like a cinematic kind of teaser trailer. But this is another one where it's like, man, why in the hell would you show this off at a state of play? But back to that same logic where we might have to quit looking at it that way. And Insomniac, they're so prolific. Their output was so insane for the early part of the PS5 life cycle, and now the Spider-Man 2 released in 2023, and 2024 they had nothing. If they don't have anything in 2025 as well, I'm assuming that they ran into some pretty big trouble with Wolverine, and kind of it's like an all hands on deck situation to resolve those issues, I would assume. Because we know that there was supposed to be a Venom game. I don't know if that was going to be like a Miles Morales style spinoff. You know what I mean? Like a smaller $40 title or whatever the case. But I mean, I still hope we get that. I think that the little glimpse of playing as Venom that we had in Spider-Man 2 was fun as shit. I would love to play that in its entire game. Like, Ultimate Spider-Man back on the PS2, playing as Venom is the highlight of that game. So I would love to play just a straight up Venom game, but it doesn't look like we're getting that either, because I would have assumed that we would have had that announced last year and then launched this year, and then kind of make way for Wolverine in 2026 or 2027. So yeah, I don't think we see Wolverine either, but would very much love to be wrong on this. That's probably I was going to say that's my most excited game from first party, but I don't know about that, actually. It probably is. Astro DLC, I think this is the one thing that's like a 1000% lock. I think this will be like the first real big expansion where you get, quite a few new levels, new bosses, new bots to collect, like the whole 9 yards. I think this will be a big expansion announced, and it'll have a quick turnaround. So like a release for this in, let's see, maybe April, something like that, like only a couple months until this thing releases. So I'm thinking we get a big Astro DLC announced here. Intergalactic, the Heretic Prophet from Naughty Dog, no chance. I don't think we see this again until 2026 at the earliest, and I think it'll probably release 2028, 2029. I think it might be a PS5 launch title, or a PS6 launch title, or like I said, very, very end of PS5 life cycle. All right, now let's get into second and third party exclusives. Death Stranding 2, I think this Death Stranding 2 I do think will be here. I think Death Stranding 2 will probably get its official release date revealed at the State of Play. We'll probably get an obnoxiously long trailer, like 15 minutes of, people's feet and damn fucking blue people running around on screen, people walking on Mars, and it'll be a whole lot of nothing, but it'll be 15 minutes of nothing. And I don't know, that last like real big trailer we got of Death Stranding 2 was actually pretty consequential and super interesting from just, at the very least, it was super interesting from a kind of like visual standpoint, like an aesthetic standpoint. The shit that you were seeing on the screen was like mesmerizing, like the stop motion little doll dude, and the Troy Baker with his guitar battle thing shooting the lightning bolts out of his guitar, and I don't know, it just looked more fun, like leaning into the fun. So I hope that the next trailer we see is kind of tripling down on that, where it's like, yeah, Death Stranding 2 is actually going to be really fun. So I hope that's what we see. Sword of the Sea. So this is that Journey. It's from the like one of the lead artists from Journey, and creator of Abzu, and so it's in that vein of nice, chill, serene adventure game, exploration game. Probably going to be some heartfelt sort of ties in there, and you're roaming around on your kind of skateboard, snowboard, sandboard, whatever the hell you want to call it, and doing some tricks on half pipes. And yeah, we haven't seen this in a while. I think that we do see this re-revealed at the State of Play, and I think that it's one of those things where it's like we talked about earlier with Astrobot. I think we see it revealed and then released not long after it all, like June or so for Sword of the Sea for its release date. Midnight Walk, I think same thing. We'll get a release date for this game. It's a smaller project. It's from the Lost in Random developers, the EA Originals game that came out a few years ago. And this is that like Psychonauts looking platformer, but like horror, like a horror Psychonauts game. And it's also coming to VR. So this will be one of the very few VR games, like big VR games that come out in 2025. So yeah, that'll be like their way of knocking the VR, checking the VR bucket off their list with Midnight Walk. But it's also coming to console, so it kind of get the best of both worlds there. Lost Soul Aside, once again, back to back here. Yep, I think we see it, and I think it gets its first official release date. We've had windows for so long, like, yeah, it's Lost Soul Aside is going to release in 2022. Wait, it's going to release in 2023. Wait, it's going to release in 2024. I think we're going to get like, okay, it's coming. It's launching September 2025, that type of thing. So, Lost Soul Aside, character action, DMC inspired title, and yeah, looks really cool. Phantom Blade Zero staying in the action game sphere. I don't know why we keep seeing this thing when it's not like the developers have come out and said, hey, this isn't coming out until 2026. So we got a long ways until this game releases. Next year. But we've been seeing it for a long time. For a game that's coming out in 2026, we have been seeing this thing for a minute. And seeing a lot of it. Like every time it's shown off, it's not just little nothing burger ass trailers. We're getting real, like significant gameplay deep dives and shit. So, yeah, they're cooking up something special over there. Take your time. Let it cook. 2026 for Phantom Blade Zero. Could we see it again just to re-hype you up? Sure, but I don't really know if that's necessary at this point. And yeah, so that's kind of it for the second and third party exclusives that that I think are worth talking about here for this State of Play, and things that I think we could possibly see at the State of Play. I think all of those have a decent likelihood of popping up. And now let's talk about the exciting stuff. The third party, like, multi-platform games, or the third party kind of bigger talking points, the things that would really, the games that are going to make you go, oh shit, okay, this is, wow, damn, I wasn't expecting that. Well, let's start off safe, and then we'll get into the, oh damn, I wasn't expecting that portion. Metal Gear Solid 3 Remake. We have to get that release date here. I, without a doubt, assume we're getting that official release date, the final confirmation release date for Metal Gear Solid 3. Once again, I assume this is a pretty first half of 2025, a pretty early release date for MGS3 the Remake. I also wouldn't be too surprised to see part 2 of the Metal Gear Solid collection with MGS4, and I wouldn't be surprised to see that pop up either. All right, now let's get into some more outlandish shit. Resident Evil. Every time I make a predictions video, I'm going to include Resident Evil, and Resident Evil and State of Play go together like peanut butter and jelly, toast and butter, and yeah, I'm out of analogies. But Resident Evil games have historically been revealed at State of Play. RE4 was revealed at a State of Play. RE3 was revealed at a State of Play. So I'm assuming either 9, 0, or Code Veronica, one of those three should be here, should be popping up at this State of Play. You would think maybe Capcom doesn't want to market a new Resident Evil game before the release of Monster Hunter, but I don't know, man. I mean, like, whenever they launched Resident Evil 4 in 2023, they were marketing that alongside like Street Fighter 6, and so I don't know, when you're a publisher of that magnitude and you're that prolific and you release that many games, like, you kind of have to market things together. And actually we'll tie straight into that with Judas, from Take-Two, under the Take-Two umbrella. They have a lot of stuff cooking over there at Take-Two, and they're going to have to market stuff simultaneously. I mean, we even saw that at the Game Awards, where they're marketing Mafia 4 or Mafia the Old Country alongside a Borderlands 4. And that's the thing here, where do we get a Judas trailer alongside a Borderlands 4 trailer? Because Judas, I mean, people were assuming that was going to come out in 2024, and we still have no official confirmation for 2025 if that's going to be the release date for Judas. I tend to assume it's a 2025 game. Like, I mean, I know that thing has been in the works for a long ass time. I know it's a complicated game, and the narrative Lego blocks and all the shit that Ken Levine and Ghost Story, I believe is the name of the team now. I know they're cooking up something unique over there. Maybe they're running into some troubles getting that shit all ironed out, but you would assume that thing has got to be somewhat close to release. And then, talking about Borderlands 4, if Judas, which I don't even think if Judas is revealed, that necessarily means Borderlands 4 won't be revealed, but I think this could be Borderlands 4. I think this could be like the big game of the show, where we get like a 4 or 5 minute look at the gameplay with an official locked in release date for, so here's my theory, is that if Take-Two has so much in the pipeline for this year, and they got to spread it out to some extent. So if they have this, Mafia, Grand Theft Auto 6, and Judas all potentially releasing, all trying to release in 2025, and Mafia's already scheduled for summer 2025, could Borderlands 4 be that, like, tail end of spring game? Like an April or May launch for Borderlands 4, Mafia 4 launches somewhere in August, and then GTA 6, they try to get that in for like the holiday period, but ends up slipping to 2026. They have a lot of shit cooking right now. Take-Two has a lot of stuff cooking, and it's going to be that situation where some games do just have to step on one another, and you just hope that it's serving such a drastically different market that it doesn't really cross-pollinate too much, and people are going, well, I can't pick up Borderlands because I'm going to be playing Mafia. I can't pick up Judas because I'm playing Borderlands. You would hope that the markets are drastically different enough to kind of serve a different base of people and be able to still sell millions of copies just to millions of different people. So yeah, Borderlands 4, I feel like that could be the big third party, like the game we see that just gets a ton of information, like a big information dump here at the State of Play. But what do I know? Let's see. Gears. Do we see the Gears trilogy? The remastered or remade Gears trilogy, or maybe just a remake of Gears of War 1. Do we see Gears pop up at a State of Play? I think it makes sense if Gears E-Day is going to launch day and date on all platforms. Like, if this is going to come out day and date on PlayStation, you want people caught up by then. And, talking about those holy shit reveals, you have to have at least one of those at a State of Play. You know what I mean? You have to have one thing that is just like, oh my God, I was not expecting that. And that's the thing, where back in the day, you didn't really have to have that for a State of Play. But now that there's not a showcase, you need one of those, at least one of those at every State of Play. So could it be? Could that be the one holy shit moment of the show? I don't know. Virtua Fighter 5. I think this would make, not Virtua Fighter 5, Virtua Fighter 6. I think this could make sense as the big world premiere gameplay, like the debut gameplay trailer for Virtua Fighter 6 could make sense at a State of Play. I would kill to see RGG's other game, the Project Sentry game that they revealed at the Game Awards. I'd kill to see a full-blown, like just deep dive into gameplay, get a release date for that. But I think Virtua Fighter 6 is planning on dropping sooner than Project Sentry. I feel like Project Sentry is at least 2 years out, and I think they're going to try to get a quicker turnaround on Virtua Fighter 6. And we know RGG is incredibly, incredibly prolific. So, yeah. So, the last thing I have on my third party list, I could go on for years just like predicting random third party games that could be revealed here, but it's like, at the end of the day, what the hell? You're just throwing darts at a board, and this video's already been long enough. So I'll cut it off here with the final third party prediction. And I'm going to say Ninja Turtles, the Last Ronin, the game that's coming from, I believe, Black Forest. And I know they recently had some layoffs, like some pretty significant layoffs, so that makes me a bit hesitant, but I think they still have staff working on this thing. I think they still have like over 50 developers who are working on The Last Ronin. Like all of them are hands on deck working on The Last Ronin. And I know my theory here is they were trying to make this kind of like a God of War, like, taking inspiration from 2018's God of War for The Last Ronin. Third person, over the shoulder. And if you're trying to appeal to that market, what better place to reveal your game for the first time than a state of play? Well, I mean, the best place would be a showcase, but since we're not getting those anymore, what better place to reveal your game than a state of play? You know what I mean? Exactly the market you're looking to capture are there, tuned in for a state of play event where we're hoping to get games like this. So if it is ready to be shown, this is the place to show it. And I mean, you need games like that. You need a licensed IP. You're going to get big pops there. The Knights of the Old Republic, the remake reveal. That's a crazy, like, all-time moment. Even though the game's probably never going to come out, or if it does come out, it's going to be, it's not going to be the game we wanted. But those moments, the Wolverine reveal, those moments are huge, man. They're huge, huge moments. And the Blade reveal at the Game Awards. You could go on and on. Those are moments that reach outside of the gaming bubble and get people hyped who are just, oh shit, okay, well, I'm a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles fan. I don't play games, but I'm gonna go and buy me a damn PS5 to play me some Last Ronin. You know what I mean? That you definitely need some of those. And of course I would love, like, if I could have any of those, it would be Knights of the Old Republic, seeing a gameplay deep dive of that and being like, oh shit, it's actually going to come out. Oh shit, it actually looks decent. There's no chance that's going to happen, I don't think. Maybe the real-time strategy game, from Respawn, the Jedi Survivor, Jedi Fallen Order, they're also working on a real-time strategy game. I don't think that's going to get like that same huge pop of a God of War style Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles game, or a remake of KOTOR that looks like Final Fantasy VII or some shit. I don't think you're going to get that level of pop with a real-time strategy Star Wars game, but it could be something sick as hell that we're not expecting. So, and Respawn, I mean, you can't really doubt that team. You know what I mean? You can't really doubt that team. So, yeah, maybe we get that RTS game from Respawn, and maybe we get that Jurassic Park survival game. I've been talking about that for years. That's, staying in that vein, just talking of Saber. They have that. They have the Avatar game. They have Knights of the Old Republic remake. So maybe they throw out one of those. Hey, here, take this one. So we'll see, man. I'm really, really excited. I'm hoping for a turnaround for PlayStation. I'm hoping to get hyped for the PlayStation brand. It feels like it's been nothing but negativity for so long in PlayStation land. So I'm hoping for a hype turnaround here. So yeah, man, let me know your predictions for this upcoming State of Play down in the comments below. Anything that I missed that you're like, hey, keep your eye on this. Because last time I made one of these, I think it was for the Game Awards, and somebody called it on the dot that we were going to be getting a Ninja Gaiden game revealed at the Game Awards. Like, oh, so we got some insiders in the audience. Okay, I'm keeping my eye. Keeping my eye on you guys. What are y'all's predictions? Because I feel like some of y'all know some shit that I do not know. So, and like I said, I'm not an insider. So hit me in the comments below with your predictions for what could be revealed at this here State of Play in February. Really excited and pumped to see what you guys predict. And yeah, that's it. Appreciate you guys. See you very soon. Goodbye.